Hey guys, Claire here. In today's video, we're going to talk about all things Harry and Meghan. Looks like we'll be seeing and hearing a lot more from the House of Sussex. It's been revealed that Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan have filmed a sit-down interview with Jane Pauley for CBS Sunday Morning, which will be aired on the 4th of August at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex spoke to the 73-year-old TV icon about their new initiative centered around kids and social media, which will be launching next week. The interview will air this coming Sunday and feature the couple talking about the continuation of their work with parents who have lost their children to online bullying and abuse.
And our kids are young, they're 3 and 5. They're amazing. But all you want to do as parents is protect them. And so as we can see what's happening in the online space, we know that there's a lot of work to be done there, and we're just happy to be able to be a part of change for good.
That when your children ask for help, someone is there to give it. If you know how to help. Thank you.
At this point, we've got to the stage where almost every parent needs to be a first responder. And even the best first responders in the world wouldn't be able to tell the signs of possible suicide. That is the terrifying piece of this.
If you recall, the Duke and Duchess participated in Archwell Foundation's first Parent Summit for Mental Health Awareness in a Digital Age in New York, and was joined by the Vice President Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, as well as other parents who have lost their children to abuse on social media. So I'm looking forward to announcements and conversations about this ongoing initiative. Now, it's also been revealed that Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan are planning a tour for Colombia this month. The multi-day trip will mark the couple's first joint visit to the country. The Duke and Duchess announced that they will be heading to Colombia for a trip that will last from August 15th to the 18th. The tour will mark the first joint trip to the South American country and will focus on the couple's work in supporting mental health activism and fostering a safer online environment for youth. The couple was invited to visit Colombia by Vice President Francia Marquez, who described the Sussex's upcoming itinerary in a statement released this morning. During their trip, the Duke and Duchess will join me in visiting Bogota, as well as the Caribbean and Pacific regions of Cartagena and Cali. In these vibrant locations, they will have the exceptional opportunity to engage with leaders, youth, and women who embody the aspirations and voices of Colombians committed to progress. In addition to these meaningful interactions, the Duke and Duchess will experience the rich heritage of Colombia. Their 3-day visit to Colombia will be the Sussex's third joint international trip this year, following the previous visits to Canada in February and Nigeria in May. So for all the Harry and Meghan fans that were wishing, hoping, and praying to see more of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, well.
Hello everybody and good morning. There is some new Sussex news. The news broke today that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, aka Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, have accepted an invitation to Colombia. This comes just a few months after their successful trip to Nigeria back in May. So the Vice President of Colombia and Minister of Equality and Equity was pleased to announce that Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, have kindly accepted her invitation to visit her beautiful country of Colombia. And you can pause and read the rest of this. I already know that the usual suspects are trying to find a way to spin this to turn this into a royal-related visit. However, this has nothing to do with the royals. Their trip is going to be from August 15th to August 18th, and the tour will mark their first joint trip to Colombia, and it's going to focus on their work in supporting mental health and fostering safer online environments for the youth. So once again, it has nothing to do with the royal family. And we already know what's coming next, right? All of the different headlines of, they could go on this trip, but they can't go visit their family. Oh, Harry can bring Meghan to Colombia, but he says that him bringing her back to the UK isn't safe, blah, blah, blah. We already know that that's coming.
Oh, it's already here. According to the latest headline from GB News, Prince Harry will bring Meghan Markle to Colombia, but not the UK? What does that say about Britain? Analysis by Cameron Walker. Ay, ay, ay. The narratives from royal commentators is nothing but typical. And once upon a time, these sort of negative or incendiary headlines would really frustrate me. But it doesn't anymore. I just read it, I shake my head, I chuckle, and move on with my day. Harry and Meghan are outside of the royal bubble. They're doing the things that they want to. They're being invited by several nations and huge organizations and institutions that see the value in the work that they do, and who also know that every time that they work with Harry and Meghan, a certain section of the media, particularly the British media, is going to lose their ever-loving minds, is going to attempt to hijack whatever work they're trying to do and spin it into a tsunami of misinformation and hate. Regardless, these countries, these organizations continue to work with Harry and Meghan because they know, well, like we do, it's just a bunch of BS, and most importantly, the work that they do has long-lasting effects. And at the end of the day, nobody cares. The UK tabloids are going to continue to be their usual rotten selves, and all that we can do is follow in Harry and Meghan's lead, continue to live our lives and pay them no mind. So, are you guys excited to watch that upcoming interview, or excited to see them in Colombia? I'm excited for both. I love when they're out and about. Seems like the month of August is going to be a Sussex-packed one. And in other royal news,
we have a saying in the UK which is relevant to this story. You cannot fix yourself by breaking somebody else. But before we unravel this story, it's the Ides of March for the royals, even though it's nearly August. You know the score. Come at me if you like. I really don't care. Comments are open though. Would love your opinion. This story relates back to the time of the preparations for Meghan and Harry's wedding, and how William and probably Kate tried to make things as difficult as they could for Harry and Meghan. William was trying to ban Meghan from wearing any of Diana's jewellery because he thought it would be a distraction. He also wanted Harry to shave his beard. He was basically doing anything he could to leverage his seniority within the British royal family to make Meghan and Harry's life hell, to suck all the enjoyment they potentially could find out of their wedding. Mean. You cannot fix yourself by breaking someone else. Remember that, William? Comments are open. What do you think?
You cannot fix yourself by breaking someone else. Who knew? Who knew and find such insightful comments from TikTok?
When I do what I do it for my constituents, I do it for my country, I do it for my community. I don't do it for the King. It's nothing personal against King Charles, but it's just not where my loyalties lie. My loyalties lie to my constituents. My loyalties lie to this country, the people of this country. I want to defend democracy. I want to uphold human rights. I want to defend minorities. I want to do good things with my time. And having to swear, some people might want to swear to the King, and that's fine, and let them. But some of us, I think, in the 21st century would like to swear to a different set of values, and the values that we came into politics for. I did not come into politics for the King or his heirs and successors. I came into politics for my community, my country, my constituents, to make the country a better place. And the oath should reflect that. I made the oath under protest because I would love to see this country as a republic, not because I have any issue with King Charles or his heirs or successors individually, but the institution of monarchy is, whilst it's there, it's a massive symbol of the values of our society, of our polity. It basically says that wealth and privilege and power can be hereditary, nothing to do with opportunity, nothing to do with hard work. By a quirk of your genetics, you are going to inherit vast wealth and power and influence, and that sets the tone for the rest of politics, the rest of society. It's often asked, why do we have the political leaders we have? Well, one reason is because we have a political institution which embodies values which I don't think many people equate with an open, tolerant, broad, equal democracy.
And I'll continue to maintain that the British royal family, the heirs in particular, Charles and William, don't seem to be this new beacon for the monarchy. that the press has told us that they would be. Charles has the idea of a slimmed down monarchy, which is supposed to be less costly. But as we've seen, the cost has gone up exponentially. 4 working royals gone. The Queen, Harry and Meghan, and Randy Andy. But the price continues to skyrocket. Less people to do engagements. And when we do see them doing engagements, they're going to food banks, empty-handed. But with half a dozen photographers, but not 1 can of corn. You have Charles and Camilla, not exactly representatives of a Britain of the future. But okay, William and Kate are rarely seen. When William is seen, it's for the fun stuff, the football matches and whatnot. And then when Kate is seen or heard from via her press pack, it's always about raising awareness for issues that people who are suffering are already aware of. We're raising awareness for the need of baby banks and food banks. Baby girl, they already know. We are already aware that there is a global cost of living crisis. What else is there to be done but use the resources at their disposal to truly make a difference? Instead, the taxpayers' money goes towards funerals, coronations, birthday parties, or the trooping. These events, which really, okay, you want to have them for national pride, showmanship, okay, but maybe cut down the costs? Perhaps take some of those funds and allocate it to these food banks and baby banks, to the constituents that you are to serve, the same constituents that you want to support the monarchy now and in the future. Are we going to do that? No. They'll continue to be less than forthcoming with the amount of taxes that are paid, with the amount of money that was inherited, continue to not pay any sort of inheritance taxes, and then frame the narrative that the key issue of the monarchy is Harry and Meghan, 2 private citizens living in an entirely different continent, no longer beholden to the people or the institution. They're privately funded individuals who, 4 years after stepping back as senior working royals, continues to do far more substantive philanthropic work than the generally formative PR engagements of the heir.
Because yeah, the biggest piece of news in this reporting is that Prince William's salary has gone up. As Prince of Wales, he is now managing a portfolio, if you will, of real estate owned by the Crown. I think instead of being overly critical, I'm just gonna take a sip every time I would like to say something a little snarky during this video. We also know how much money, and it's a lot of money, the royal household in general is going to get through the sovereign grant in the next year. The sovereign grant is the money that the UK government gives to the monarch to use for official purposes. Although I do want to note that those official purposes do not include security costs. Those are paid for by the Metropolitan Police. If the royal family had to pay for their own security, the £132 million that they are getting in 2025-2026 would not be nearly enough to cover that expense. How does the sovereign grant work? Well, there is something called the Crown Estate, which is a huge portfolio of real estate. It is owned by the Crown, not the monarch as a person, but the Crown as like an entity. The monarch is sort of like the caretaker or the person holding the portfolio. So they own that land. Any money that that land generates in profits get paid out to the Treasury. The Treasury hangs on to all of those profits, but they do calculate a percentage of the profits, and it's that percentage that then gets paid out to the Crown. So technically this is taxpayer money, but it's offset, if you will, by the money that the Crown Estate is generating for the government. That's why when you hear people say things like, oh, it only costs whatever it is, £1.30 per person in the UK to support the royal family, that's where they're getting that number from. In the past, that number has been about 25% of the Crown Estate profits. These days, it is 12%, and that is a voluntary decrease that King Charles agreed to a few years ago because the Crown Estates have been making so much money. In 2023-2024, the Crown Estates generated £1.1 billion of profit. up from 443 million the previous year. Contributing to that uptick in profit is the sale and lease of seabeds surrounding the UK where wind projects are now going on. Because the Crown Estate holds that land, they get the profits from those projects. So we've already accounted for the way that those profits would be enhancing the royal family's wealth. We've reduced their income from 25% to 12% of that Crown Estate profit. This year, King Charles is still going to receive technically a pay raise of £45 million, or about $60 million. The sovereign grant and the rate that it pays out to the royal family gets reviewed every 5 years, so next year it will be reviewed. Right now, the royal family's astronomical funding from the sovereign grant is actually being used to improve Buckingham Palace, so that's a big reason given for why this money is justified. Even though if you're a member of the public and you want to see those improvements at Buckingham Palace, you do have to buy a ticket for at least £50, if not £150. The Independent also pointed out that costs for funding the royal family have gone up. In the last year, their transportation bill went up £300,000, despite the fact that there were 400 fewer public visits by the royals than the previous year. I think last year they had 2,700. This year they had about 2,300. Oh, it's right here. I can read, I promise. I just find it interesting that King Charles and Prince William both seem to be telling the public they want a slimmed down monarchy. So why is the cost to uphold the work that they do going up? That's a mystery. Speaking of Prince William, and this could be a video all on its own, yes, we know how much money he has made from a full year of income as the Prince of Wales because of something called the Duchy of Cornwall. This is a funding source that is completely separate from the Crown Estate and the Sovereign Grant. The Duchy of Cornwall belongs to whoever the Prince of Wales is, and they get the profits from it. King Charles, as monarch, also holds the Duchy of Lancaster, which does a very similar thing for him. We now know that the profit William took from the Duchy of Cornwall is £23.6 million, or about $30 million. And that money is used to cover the, quote, official, charitable, and private expenses of him and his family. Again, not their security. That is funded separately. Like, that's great and all. Get your bag, William. Like I said, I'm doing the same. William is now indicating that he is going to be less transparent about his finances than his father was when Charles was Prince of Wales. Both the King and the Prince of Wales do pay income tax on the money that their duchies generate, but William has declined to tell us what that income tax amounts to. Tax amount is calculated after official expenses are deducted from those profits. So he's paying taxes essentially on personal income after business expenses have been subtracted. But as I said, we are not getting details on that. That is a decision from William. Kensington Palace is just telling us that he's paying the appropriate amount of tax. Thank God. King Charles, by contrast, did used to disclose the amount that he was paying in this income tax. In 2022, that was about £5.89 million. When you know this number, you also get to know the household costs, the money it takes to run the Prince and Princess of Wales household. I'm not really surprised that William has decided not to make that number public, especially in a year when it feels like there are fewer royal engagements happening than ever. Kate has done 2 so far this year, as she undergoes chemotherapy. William has cut back his own public engagement schedule. If you publish the amount of income they're raking in as they do not engage with the public at the level they are supposed to, it doesn't matter the reason why, questions are going to be raised. Personally, I don't think William's trying to hide anything shady. No, I think it's more likely he just doesn't see the need to fill the public in on this type of financial information. He probably thinks he's above it, just based on what I know about this guy. This is the family that also thinks they are above paying inheritance tax on their wealth. When one sovereign dies and the estate gets passed to the next sovereign, there is no inheritance tax paid on that money, even though regular British citizens pay 40% inheritance tax on any estate over £325,000. Let me know your thoughts on all of this financial wheeling and dealing that is happening with the royal family. I hope I explained it well enough. I'm obviously not an expert in the financial side of things because it is a very, very, very mystical, magical system that they got going on.